Getting a bunch of fresh eggs from your chickens? I'm sure you are. We're sharing how to collect and store them safely for the best quality. And it's actually really important. So let's talk about it.
All right.
Before we start talking about how to safely handle eggs, we do have another question from our loyal and one of our favorite viewers, Vicki Ann, Painting with Oils. Thank you, you're awesome.
Thank you.
And her question is it true Easter eggers lay eggs the color of their feet?
Well, short answer, no. It's not true at all. I mean, it may be coincidentally the case with some Easter eggers, but the genes that are going to determine what color a chicken's feet are and the genes that are going to determine what color eggs she lays are entirely separate. And that's actually true for pretty much every genetic appearance feature. So their colors, their patterns, their feet color, their tails, what color earlobes they have.
Yeah. That's the most common one, because that one is kind of a rule, but even there are exceptions to the rule.
And it's mostly coincidental.
So generally speaking, white earlobes, white eggs. Right, red earlobes, brown eggs, but that's not always the case. There are red earlobe chickens that don't lay brown eggs, and there are white earlobe chickens that lay dark brown eggs. So it just wait and see what comes out.
There's really what determines the color of egg is there are genetics to produce a blue pigment that will go into the eggshell as the eggshell is being formed. There's genetics for a brown pigment that will be added to the eggshell after the egg is formed. And then there's genetics for how much of a bloom is going to be put on that egg as it's being laid. And the combination of those three is what actually produces the different colors that you see in chicken eggs.
Yep.
Well, I do know that there's a lot of chickens that lay eggs the color of my feet, so.
Okay.
White.
Pasty white eggs?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for the question, Vicki Ann. I think we need to get Vicki to paint a picture of us.
Yeah, no.
Be awesome.
Painting with oils.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to our egg discussion today. And we're going to start off with the question, why is proper egg collection important?
There's a lot of reasons why it's important. One important reason for me is that if they stay fresh, they just taste better. So who doesn't want a better tasting egg? But it's also the risk of disease, things like salmonella. So you want to make sure that you collect those eggs and avoid the potential for getting salmonella.
Yeah. The other thing is, you leave those eggs out there, eventually those chickens tend to get curious. They might start pecking at them, or you get a whole bunch in there, then they break, and then they taste them, and then you end up with egg eaters.
Or they poop all over them.
It just makes a mess. So keeping them cleaned up helps. Also, if there's a bunch, sometimes they'll be like, maybe I'll go broody and go sit on all those eggs.
Right.
So if you can keep them cleaned out, you help with broodiness, you help with egg eating, you help with all those different types of problems. So.
All right. So that kind of led into this next question. How often do you need to collect your eggs?
I think as a minimum, you should collect them every day.
Yeah.
And I say that's a minimum. If you have the opportunity, if you have the time, I would probably do it twice a day, like once in the morning, once in the afternoon. If you can't collect them that often, maybe try and figure out your birds and their schedule. If most of your flock is laying in the morning, then maybe you want to go out there in the late morning. If a lot of them are laying in the early afternoon, then maybe you go out there in the early evening. But yeah, as often as you can is better.
Yeah, for me, I'll be honest, I don't make it out every day. Sometimes I'm busy with other things. I'm like,
I don't always
I'll
either.
get out this exciting. But the other thing is, like for me in the wintertime, if you're not out there about every 6 hours, that egg's frozen by the time you get to it.
Yep.
So it just...
And on the opposite end of that, when it's really hot like it is right now, leave it out there too long, it might spoil.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that.
All right. So when you go out there to collect, are there any special handling precautions or anything you need to do?
I mean, they're eggs, right? Handle them gently so you're not banging them around. Have a clean bucket. Some people like to wear gloves. They're concerned about, diseases and that kind of stuff, and that's fine. Yeah, just handle them with care and make sure you're being clean about it.
Yeah, and you mentioned, using a clean bucket, wearing gloves. It's probably a good idea to have dedicated gloves, dedicated baskets, or whatever you're collecting them in. I know I have a nice apron that has places to collect the eggs that I got as a Christmas gift from Steve one year.
Can we get a picture of that?
If I can find a picture of it, I'll put one up here. Yeah. But having that dedicated stuff makes sure you're not cross-contaminating other things around the house or around the farm, just in case there is like a salmonella outbreak or
Right.
something.
It also prevents what anyone who's had chickens for more than about 3 months has probably experienced. I'm going out to do a bunch of farm chores. I'm like, oh, there's some chickens, and I grab the eggs and I stick them in my pocket. And then I go over and I lean over the fence to scratch the horse's ear or feed the pigs or whatever. And I hear, and it's all wet on my stomach. And I'm like, oh, and just, egg all of them. So
There's been
if you have a dedicated bucket or whatever, that doesn't happen.
more than one occasion when I went out and collected eggs and then decided I would go over and pet the dog.
Yeah.
And then the dog jumps up on me, it breaks the eggs, and then he smells the eggs, and so he wants to try and eat the eggs. Yeah. Be careful with that as well.
All right, so let's move on. How should you clean and store your eggs?
So depending on what you're going to do, I keep my eggs on the counter. I don't refrigerate my eggs, so I don't wash them. They come in. I have a bucket, place that on the counter where I keep my eggs. That's where they stay. If you want to put them in the refrigerator, you can do that as well. Washing is also an option.
Yeah. If you put them in the refrigerator, supposedly they're going to keep longer. But one of the more important things about helping them to keep longer is not to wash them. By not washing them, you're not getting that bloom off. That bloom is a protective coating that keeps bacteria from getting in there. So be careful with that.
Yeah. Again, that chicken lays its egg just before it lays it applies that bloom, which is kind of a sealant over the outside. That egg itself is porous. There's pores there for air, because when a chick's developing, it needs carbon dioxide to come out, oxygen to come in. Over time, that breaks down, just like as the chick is getting bigger, it needs more. So anyway, that bloom basically seals up that egg and keeps those things from happening. When you wash it, you remove that, and now all those pores are open, so bacteria and that kind of stuff can come in. Air can come out faster. That egg's not going to last as long. So the bloom helps you with that. So by removing it, but in your store eggs, that's part of the process. They're all going to be washed. That bloom's gone. Again, putting them in the fridge is going to slow down that exchange of air. So those eggs are going to keep longer than they would on the counter. But with the bloom, that's going to extend your time as well.
Yeah, if you do keep them in cartons, which is a good way to keep them from breaking, put them in the carton with the pointed end down. That's going to help it stay fresher longer. And if you do put it in the refrigerator or in a pantry or something like that, make sure you don't store it right next to something that has a strong odor like onions. As Steve mentioned, the eggshells are porous and they'll absorb those odors, and then your eggs won't taste as good.
Yeah.
So.
One last thing to note, if you are going to wash those eggs, use water that's warmer than the egg. When you use cold water, it actually sucks all that stuff on the shell into the egg. So if there's bacteria, it'll actually draw it into the egg. You want to use warm water. That way it flushes it out instead of in.
Yep.
So use warmer water to wash, not cold. Also, don't soak them. Sometimes that's what we used to do when I first started, because I didn't know any better. You come in and there's a big chunk of hard poo stuck to this egg or whatever. I'll just put it in the sink or whatever. That just gives things time to seep in. So soaking is not a recommended. Just brush them off, wash them, rinse them, and then get them in the fridge.
Yeah.
So do you guys, I guess how long if you just leave it on the counter, how long would you wait before you just throw them away? How long are they good?
For me, I ballpark about a month.
Yeah, that's kind of my mental thought here too, is I'm not going to keep them for more than a month one way or another. I eat enough eggs. I like the eggs, so I'm going to eat enough of them. And when the chickens are, in full force laying, if I have more than I can eat, I'm just giving them away.
Yeah.
I'm giving them to my daughters and their families. So I never usually have them for more than a couple weeks.
Yeah, if we start to see a pile growing up, it's like, oh, let's have German pancakes or quiche or something, and we just go through eggs. So
You don't do the hack of you drop it in the water and if it floats, it's
yeah, that's a good one.
Matter, right?
Yeah, if you're not sure whether it's still fresh or not, that's a great test for it.
I've done that when I find like the mystery nest.
Uh-huh.
Right out there, you was like, oh, there's 12 eggs. I'm like, I wonder how
Probably
old those
one
are.
or two of them were just laid the
So
last
is
day.
it good if it sinks or if it floats?
Floaters are bad. Standing up on its edge means it's getting old. Down at the bottom is good.
All right, there you go. And finally, are there any options for long-term storage?
Yeah, there's quite a few different options. People have dehydrated eggs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of dehydrated foods for the most part. Some fruits are great, but I don't like dehydrated eggs. Freezing is also an option. Of course, you have to remove them from the shell before you do it. If you try and just put the shelled eggs in the freezer, you're going to have frozen broken eggs.
Yeah. And the other option is to water glass or
Yeah.
line those eggs. And I think we have a video coming up where we're going to talk about that a little bit. Basically, just putting them in a solution where they're protected, and that's another option. That'll give you 5 or 6 months easy.
Yeah, and that'll keep them fairly long term. Yeah, so it's a great process, interesting process too.
So in the Air Force, did you have to eat MREs?
I did have to eat MREs when deployed, yes.
Is that what
And I-
is that what ruined it for you for the eggs? Or?
Well, I stayed away from the omelets, let me tell you. They're terrible.
Well, all right. Thanks for the tips. Keep your eggs fresh with these awesome ideas from these guys. And if you have any tips or tricks that you use yourself, throw them in the comments. And as always, if you haven't yet, please give us a like, subscribe. We appreciate every one of you. And
Happy farming.
that's right. I'd have to pull it out of you guys.